Hey guys, Zach here for All American Christmas Company, and today I'm going to be making a video on craft light strings. We're not going to show how to use them at the moment. We're just going to give an overview of the different types of craft lights, information about them so you can really know how to plan out a project or what you're going to need to know if you ever have to fix them or anything like that. So, what are craft lights? Craft lights are typically a short mini light string. These are mini lights. They're just the old school incandescent Christmas tree bulbs. They have a little filament in there. And usually always with a craft light string, it's just got one little plug. It has the plug that goes to the power source, and it doesn't end with the other plug. They end with a bulb. So you're not having to deal with a bulky female plug to try to go inside a bottle or a block or a box or anything like that. You just have to worry about the one plug going to the power source and then the small light socket to go inside the project you're lighting. They come in incandescent, like I said, or an LED. Here's an LED one, and I'll plug these up and show the differences a little bit later. But yeah, that's what a craft light set is. Short string, one plug. They, in incandescent, come in four main styles, at least for us. They have four main styles. We have a 10 count, a 15 count, 20 count, or a 35 count. And when I say count, I just mean the number of bulbs on the string. That is, whenever I say count, that's what I'm talking about. They come on either a green or a white wire, and sometimes even brown wire. These are some brown wire 20s we have that are cool. They're not going to look some Christmassy if you're using those for some sort of decorating project. They come in all the standard colors for the 20s and the 35s. The 10s and the 15s come in clear, red, blue, green, yellow, etc. But the 20s and 35s come in teals and pinks and everything like that. So if you're needing an assortment of colors, it's best to go with the 20s or the 35s. But if you're needing basic stuff and you don't have a big project to light, the 10s or the 15s will work just fine for that. They have a varying lighted length, and the lighted length is from the first bulb to the last bulb. So on a 10 count, they're around 2.5, and then they go all the way up on a 35 count to around 8.5 feet. So it just varies. The spacings on them vary as well. They can vary from around 2.5 inches to 3.5 inches. So that will determine the total length of the string as well. Now, all those things can vary. Season to season, production runs can slightly change. So, after a few years, you can notice things getting further apart or closer together. It's just the nature of the beast, I'm afraid. Most all of our sets, have a long lead wire. And the lead wire is from the plug to the first bulb. And these are all wrapped up here. So that's the lead wire. The lead wire, we think you want to be long so you can easily light a project and then power it without having to have a big bulky extension cord or something like that. And if you're selling these at trade shows or craft fairs, things like that, you would prefer your customers not have to rush out and buy anything else just to use it. It's ready to go. As soon as they get home, they can plug it up and they don't need any extra wire or anything like that. We do have some mini lights or craft lights that have a shorter lead wire. These are all long lead, and the wire is around 36 inches long. The short leads are around 17 or 12 inches long. It just depends. Let's see. So the last thing I want to talk about for incandescent is the bulb voltages. Bulb voltages vary depending on the count of lights you have on a string. Now, most people are familiar with 2.5 volt. Any 50 or 100 count light string that you have in your house on a tree, icicle lights, wrapped around bushes or garland or wreath, are going to have normally 2.5 volt bulbs. Now, if you ever had an incandescent light string like this that is real short, and you try to put some of those 2.5 volt bulbs in here, they're not going to work. They're going to get really bright and eventually burn out. So you have to be aware of that. the voltages of the bulbs are always found on these little tags. They'll say what the voltage of the bulb is. These 10s are 12 volt. I believe the 15s are 8 volt. Yes. The 20 are they're around 6 volts, and 35s are 3.5 volts. So you can't mix and match voltages or you're going to run into problems. The sets will work, but they won't be even. So keep that in mind. So let's talk about LED for a second. Here's one LED craft light string. All the rules that apply to the incandescent basically apply to this. It's a short light string, one plug. It does have this little box in line. This is where the power gets adjusted to power these bulbs from the outlet. But apart from that, it's basically the same concept. Now, LEDs are molded in. More often than not, you can't pull these bulbs out. They're just permanently in the socket. And while most people would say, well, I want to fix them down the road, really, you're not going to run into many problems with LED like you would with incandescent. LEDs have a bulb life of around 50,000 hours. Now, that's a long time, and I doubt you should put a lot of faith in that any light string you're going to buy is going to last that many hours. But in comparison, incandescent lights only last about 2,500 hours. So 2,500 hours is only about 3 months of constant use. LEDs are going to way outlast that into years, so long as there's nothing else to go wrong. And you always have to take Murphy's Law into account with anything you're plugging into a wall and have electricity going through and whatnot. But apart from the bulb life, LEDs, they don't get hot. So if you're making craft projects where you're putting in something glass, and you're worried about the heat, even though we've sold a ton of just the incandescent styles, and they do get warm, but never had anybody say anything caused a problem or caught fire or anything. But with LED, they don't generate any heat, and they don't use any electricity. This little light string is only going to pull maybe a watt or two, compared to these, which, you know, every couple bulbs is pulling a watt. So, you know, big difference between this and this. LED light strings come in most all the same colors that the incandescents do. They come on green wire and white wire. These are a 20 light set. We do have a 25 count light set. Those only come on the warm white though. They're about 5 feet, approximately, a little shorter than that, lighted length. They have a 3-foot lead on them, so you don't have to have an extension cord for the most part. And the bulb space is around 3 inches. Now, a lot of people, they get really concerned about the color. I think when most people saw LEDs coming out a few years ago, they were really familiar with the white looking bluish. Now, LEDs have come a long way, and these LED sets, we have some that we call cool white or pure white, and they're just kind of white. They kind of look like this. You know, there's not a lot of color in them. They might have a slight blue tint, but not like the LEDs that were so prevalent a few years ago. These sets, though, are called warm white, so they're made to look like the incandescent lights. And I don't know if the camera is going to show this up as well, but you can see there's a yellow appearance. These have a much more natural looking light just because of the filament. These are much more yellow, but you know, you're getting a lot more life, a lot more flexibility out of something like this than you are these, for a fairly similar appearance. It's hard to capture it on a camera and really show you the major differences between the colors. But LEDs are really something cool. If you're making a lot of crafts, they're only, you know, $3 more for the most part for these 20 count sets. All the colors look great. The colors are way better than any incandescent because the LED diode itself, this little guy, lights up the color of the bulb. So if you have red, that little bulb lights up red. It's not just painted red. So they're really vibrant and really pop. So yeah, that's pretty much everything about the LED craft lights. Okay, now we're going to talk about uses of craft lights. Now I'm not going to go into detail on how to make lighted things and whatnot, but I will give you some ideas. Most of you probably already know, if you're looking at this, that people use them for wine bottles and glass blocks. Wine bottles are by far the most popular use that we sell these for. People just go crazy about it. This is what we sell the majority of the year, which is crazy, but it's true. How you make a lighted wine bottle is pretty simple. Go get a glass drill bit at any hardware store. Just make sure it's made for glass. You drill into the base of the bottle. Usually want to have around a 1/2 inch or a little bit smaller drill bit. Lubricate it, use some WD-40 or something like that so it cuts the glass and doesn't break anything. And once you have the hole drilled, just wash it out, get all the excess glass and all the dust away. You can put the lights in, and yeah, you're ready to decorate. Same process for making the hole is for glass blocks, and the glass blocks I'm talking about are the kind that you use in a bathroom or to create a wall, things like that. And they have different, frosted glass and different, finishes and looks for any kind of idea you might have. And it's really neat because that gives you a blank canvas and a flat canvas. If you want to paint or decorate or wrap ribbon around it or something like that, you can use those. And people do the same thing for wine bottles. But something that's gotten really popular in our circles is people using wine bottles or liquor bottles and leaving the labels on there and using lights that kind of match the look of the bottle. So you can use an amber color inside a whiskey bottle, or a red inside a clear wine bottle or something like that. So you give that kind of effect to really to make that bottle stand out when it's sitting on a shelf or a desk or something like that. I don't suggest going out and drinking yourself to death to get bottles. Some of our customers, they have friends, whenever they have a couple bottles of wine just laying around the house, they'll give them to them, they'll use them for decoration. They'll go to local restaurants. Most of the places just throw that stuff out, and if you ask them nicely, maybe they will save them for you and you can use them for your projects. So you don't have to spend a lot of money buying bottles if you don't want to. We have considered carrying empty, brand new, never used wine bottles, but as easy as it is to go to a restaurant or friends or family and get that stuff, you might not want to pony up the money to buy something brand new. Apart from using these in bottles, another great way to use these craft lights are using them on tables and other decorations. Most of the time a big light string are going to be just way too much, way too long. It's not going to be functional for most projects. But with this type of string, you can easily light up a centerpiece at a table. If you can hide the extension cord coming off the table, you can put them on shelves, on cabinets, just to add some accent lighting or some mood lighting, especially something like a 10 count, which is only a couple feet long, so you can really integrate it and hide it and not have something that's going to be big and bulky, and it's obvious that there's a Christmas light string sitting back there. People use these in weddings, they use them in parties, proms, events, things like that. But yeah, that's really everything I have to talk about on the craft lights. So I hope that you learned something. I hope that this helps you out. And if you have any other decisions, please visit us at aachristmas.com. That's All American Christmas Company. And shoot us an email or something, or give us a call. Thanks.